Welcome to BIZruptions, a video podcast where we talk about the ish that happens along the road to business success and how to keep pushing through it. And now, from the Yokel Local Studios in lovely Las Vegas, with your Think Out of the Box hosts, Stormy Andrews and Deborah Fortune-Stott.
Deborah, we are here for another day, and we've got an awesome guest.
Yes, we do. We do have an awesome guest, and you know, she's going to up your game today.
Yes.
So especially considering that you introduced her to us. So I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce her and tell about this phenomenal woman that we have as our guest today.
Absolutely. We have a legend in our presence. So today our guest is Judi Moreo. She's one of the most recognized personal growth trainers and coaches, not in Las Vegas, not in the United States, but in the world. She is the author of over 11 books, including 2 international bestsellers, You Are More Than Enough and Conquer the Brain Drain. Judi Moreo is the publisher of Choices Magazine, host of the TV show World Book Reviews, designer of the online success course, the Achieve More Method, and is both a life coach and a creativity coach. Judi has received many awards, including the prestigious Certified Speaking Professional designation from the National Speakers Association, Nevada Business Person of the Year from the U.S. Advisory Council, and the Women of Achievement, entrepreneur from the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce. Judi has inspired hundreds of thousands of people in 28 countries around the globe with her unique speaking and training style. Judi, it is a pleasure to have you here on this show. For many of you, those that don't know, I'm a huge fan of Judi. So for her to be on this show is a very exciting day for me. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. And I'm just so impressed with the studio. This is amazing. This is my first time in here.
Well, thank you. It's the only thing that Stormy has contributed of value to the company.
Oh.
There's a first for everything.
I don't think so.
So, Judi, tell us, we always hear about the Amazon bestsellers. We always hear about the, maybe a bestseller, but an international bestseller?
That's pretty exciting.
That is like, I didn't know that until just recently. So I'm like, wow, we're in the presence of royalty here.
Well, it was the book, Conquer the Brain Drain, was really a fun book to do. What was happening was I was working with a seminar company that did not have anything on creativity to sell, any kind of a product. You know, seminar companies sell product in the back of the room.
Right.
And they didn't have anything on creativity to sell. And they had asked me to write a creativity day camp for them so that they could start working with companies and having it be totally different than the regular seminar that people go to. So I put together this really fun creativity day camp for adults, and the speakers all wore denim shirts with their camp counselor name on it and everything. And we did really fun thing, but they didn't have any products. So I asked them if I could write this book. And they said, yeah. So I wrote this book, Conquer the Brain Drain. And it started selling. And the great thing about having it on the back table in the seminar room is because the seminar companies have about 40 to 50 speakers out every day. And they're all selling that product on the back of the room. So they were selling my book. And I decided with my business partner, I said, why don't we take this book to South Africa and do a luncheon that we host, and we'll both speak, and we'll invite all the who's who of Johannesburg to come to the luncheon and see if anybody wants to buy the book.
Right.
And she said, okay. So we shipped all these books over, and people came, and we had about 100 people that showed up for the luncheon, and they loved the speeches and they loved the book. But it turned out that the lady from Penguin Books happened to be in the audience. And she said, I love this book, but the title doesn't work with South Africa, because in South Africa, the word conquer the brain drain means, that people are all leaving their country.
Interesting.
The brain drain.
That's not good.
And so she said, the title doesn't work. Can you change the title? So we did for them. And we actually were real fortunate, because when we had sold the rights to the book, we didn't sell the international rights. We only had sold the United States rights. So for the international market, we changed the name of the book to Ignite the Spark, 52 Creative Ways to Fire Up Your Team. And the Penguin Books bought it and put it on the market internationally. And that's how it became a bestseller internationally.
Wow, that's an incredible story.
Yeah.
That is an incredible story. I'm listening to her, and then she says Johannesburg, and I'm like, huh? That's
Well,
powerful.
See, the thing about, I think once you've been a speaker in the global market and you start working in other parts of the world, you realize how easy it is to work in other parts of the world.
Right.
And so then you start having ideas of how can I help these people in this country be more progressive or have better business or be more creative. And then you start thinking, well, I can just go there. You know, all it takes is a plane ticket. So someone asked me the other day, how did you get to speak in all these countries? I said, I bought a plane ticket. And she went,
Wow.
That's pretty simple, isn't it? And I went, pretty simple.
Right. I guess it makes sense. Just buy a plane ticket.
Buy a plane ticket and go.
Right.
Of course, doesn't hurt if you get out and hustle a bit once you get there.
Right.
You know.
Wow, that's powerful. Now, speaking of that, with speakers and with books and things like that, since we're kind of on that subject, now you've written 11 books, and one of the questions that I have for you is, do you help authors and publishers, because they're asking you questions like, you know, for speaking, and I'm sure they're asking questions for books. I just wrote my first book, so I'm like. I'm like glowing. I've got people asking me questions, and I'm like, really? Aw.
Yeah. It's kind of nice, isn't it?
It is. It's wonderful, but I am nowhere even near that arena. It's like I'm in a whole different country from what you're talking about, but I'm headed there.
Well, it's a coloring book.
It's
so.
a coloring book. Yeah, that's right. It's
coloring.
connect
No,
the dots. Yeah.
Coloring book sounds fun.
Right, it's connect the dots. So do you help authors and publishers and things like that to
Well,
get on the right course?
I do. The thing is, see, I started out in business. I didn't start out as a speaker. I started out with my own business. And that's how come I won business awards, because I was in business for many, many, many years. And then I was fortunate enough that someone came along and said, I'd like to buy your business. And my financial planner said, that's the reason we start a business, is so one day we can sell it.
Right.
But once I sold it, I didn't know what to do with myself. And people started asking me, you know, how do you start a business? How do you run a business? How do you get more successful? And so I started telling them, and then I started speaking about that, and then I started writing books about that. And next thing I know, people are saying, how do you get to speak? How do you get to write a book? So I started coaching people on how to speak and how to write a book. I even ghostwrite books for people. So
Oh, do you?
yes,
Wow.
Sometimes people want to write a book, but they don't know the process of writing. They have
Right.
all the information, and so I'll take all their information and write their book and give it to them. And they can, depending on how much they want me to do, I can either do the basic bones and they can put in their stories, or I can write the whole thing. So,
Wow.
Nice.
So it just depends. But yes, I love working with authors and with speakers. And, you know, I've been speaking for well over 35 years. And
She gave
so-
that side look like, do I really want to tell you?
yeah, it's a long time I've been speaking, and I've won a lot of speaking awards. And so, you know, I'm a good coach. I'm good at helping people take their abilities and become the best they can be.
Right.
And it comes from the background, too. My business, my first business, was a modeling school and agency. And so I've always been involved in helping people be the best they can be, teaching people personal development, teaching people how to be a model, teaching people how to be on television, teaching people how to stand up in front of a group and speak. So that's what I've done my whole life, and I love it. I love seeing them become successful.
Right.
Did she
Well-
just say modeling agency? I mean, she just
Well-
took a whole turn. I was like, wow, you are really well versed here.
And if you wouldn't mind, I believe you're actually selling yourself short, because I know the story about the modeling agency. It's not just a modeling agency. You know, someone can go up there and say, yeah, I've created a modeling agency. Her modeling agency is, or was, pretty incredible. Would you mind sharing that story? In terms of what you provide, or no, if not, we can.
Well,
I guess it's off topic.
Yeah. Do you want the story about how it started, or you want the story about the agency itself?
I think they're both incredible stories, and because it just kind of, in my opinion, it provides to the credibility when you say you started a business, and the way you started that business I think is incredible, and what you turned it into is incredible, and what you that connection to Las Vegas. You were actually instrumental to a lot of the growth, in my opinion, that Las Vegas experienced. And from your modeling agency.
Yes.
It's
what
pretty
happened was
incredible.
we used to have a department store here called Montgomery Ward, and Deborah won't even
remember.
know about it.
Actually, I do remember. It was my first
You weren't
credit
even-
card.
Oh,
It was
really?
my
Really?
first
I was
credit
saying you
card.
probably weren't even born then. But we used to have this Montgomery Ward department store here, and I was Wendy Ward. They hired me to be Wendy Ward,
Wow.
and so I was like the face of the store, and I did the commercials, and I was in all the ads in the newspaper, and they wanted a charm program for kids. So I put together this little 6-week charm program, the Wendy Ward Charm School, and kids could come for $25 once a week for 6 weeks. And then before long, it grew into a teenage program, and then we started doing high schools would have leadership. They'd have one person from each high school on our leadership board, and that grew into doing women's programs for business women, helping them learn to dress, helping them learn the skills they needed, and so on. And after I'd done that, and we went from number 500 in the country, they had them rated across the country. We went from number 500 to number 1 in a year and a half.
Wow.
And after doing that, I decided, well, I could do this for myself. I could start my own business. I was young, and I didn't have any money. I had a savings account, and I'd been saving for a long time. And I finally saved up $5,000, so I went out and I rented an office and said, okay, I'm going to open an agency. So with my $5,000, I bought the equipment, I bought all the things I needed, which were like walls of mirrors and stages and, supplies and everything. And I started this finishing school and model agency. And about 3 weeks after I opened was the first time in the history of Las Vegas that they turned off all the lights on the Las Vegas Strip. They had a major strike, and they closed. I mean, basically all the lights were off, and people weren't working, and it was going on. And so who is going to send their kid to modeling school when they're out of work and
Right.
they're striking? And who's going to hire models when the hotels are all closed down? So by the second month, I didn't have the money to pay my rent.
Oh my gosh.
So I went to my landlord, a wonderful man here in town. I went to my landlord and I said to him, "We have a little problem, you and I. I don't have the money to pay the second month's rent." And he said, "Well, honey, we don't have a problem really, because the man next door bet me that you wouldn't last in business 6 months, and I bet him you would." He said, "If you can hang in there for 6 months, we'll make enough money to pay your rent." So I hung in there for 6 months, and 21 years later, I still had the business. I did quite well, and that's where I won all the awards. But we expanded the business from the finishing school and model agency to incorporate temporary personnel for conventions. And back then we didn't have a lot of conventions in Las Vegas, so the convention center asked me if I would go with them to assist them in selling conventions on the coming and participating in being in Las Vegas. And my first big convention I went to was the Consumer Electronics people, and I went to Chicago and then to New York and met with them, and Consumer Electronics decided to come to Las Vegas, and as a result of that, I got the account for all the temporary personnel for Consumer Electronics, which was about 900 people a year. And so
Wow.
that one show, was a real moneymaker. It
Absolutely.
was big. And then we brought in home builders, and then National Association of Hairdressers and Cosmetologists, and then broadcasters, and so on. So the history of the Las Vegas convention business, we were a part of that. We were
Right.
a very big part of it. And we also at that time had a lot of movie business here, and we did a lot of casting for the movies. So we were able to work with a lot of the television shows like the Vegas series and BJ and the Bears, and just about anyone that filmed here, we furnished all the extras for. So I feel, I was a big part of helping Las Vegas convention business become what it has become today.
Which is now one of the.
It is our
Is it the
our
number
industry.
one in the world?
Yeah, well,
Or one of the.
Las Vegas and Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
I think it is. that are the two biggest in the world, and they're never sure which one is the biggest. But yeah, we probably are the number one convention city in the world.
Well, I might be a little biased, but I just came from a convention in Fort Lauderdale, and so my vote is with Vegas. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. No offense. I love the event, but I'm just saying the Las Vegas Convention Center. There is a difference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's because of the conventions that we brought here that we've been able to expand the convention center in Las Vegas as big as we have.
Right.
And partially that's how I've expanded my business too, is that because of the experiences I've had with all of these various conventions and the incredible people that run them and that I got to work with over the years, that's one of the reasons I became a creativity coach. And so I can help people think creatively. I can help them think of new ways to build their business. I can help them see that maybe they need to go to a company like yours and have you do a particular part of their marketing for them. And so that's why they come back to me year after year and say, Judy, we got a little problem here. Could you help us with this? And that's what I do. But back to your question, because I went all over everywhere. Back to your question, do I help speakers and writers? Yes, and that's my favorite thing to do, is to help people write their books. I actually wrote a little book. It's an online course. It's called Your Fast Track Guide to Writing and Launching Your Book. And it's only 4 chapters, but it's 4 weeks training online. And it's the first week is on, how do you plan your book? The second week is how do you write your book? The third week is how do you publish your book? And the fourth week is how do you promote your book? And so that's really what people need to know. And it comes with all these checklists and things that they can check it off as they do it. So they know I'm on the right track. I'm doing the right thing.
Right.
I try to make things easy for people so that they can see it. Same thing with the speech. I basically have a template. I say, this is what you have to do to give a speech. This is how important your opening is, and this is how important your closing is.
Right.
And then we'll work on the middle. But most people work on the middle. They put all this material together, and they forget about their opening and closing. So,
Yes.
so I try to get people on the right track.
Wow. I want to go back to this online course for just a moment. I meet, over the years, I met lots of people who have written a book, but their book really hasn't taken off the way they had hoped. So you had mentioned that your online course is broken into 4 parts. So let's say there's someone out there that has written a book. They've been sitting on this book. Maybe they've already gone through the publishing process. They self-published it, but the promotion hasn't gone all too well. Is your online course, does that work for someone like that, where they can just dive into your course and start at chapter 4?
Yes, they can. However, the way it's set up, they have to buy all 4 chapters, but it's really expensive today because for your people who are listening, it's $27. So it's that's for the whole course.
Can we get a special?
So I mean, if they can afford $27, they can do it. But yes, they can start with chapter 4. If they've already written a book and they don't have a clue how to promote it, that's a good place to start.
Yep, I believe that happens all the time.
Oh no, I can assure you that it happens all the time because I know the marketing side of it. But I got to the end of it, and I'm just going to tell you, I wrote everything, and they told me to do it in Google Drive, and I did it in Google Drive, and I took Google Drive, and I wanted to send it to CreateSpace, and all of these, and they said, you have to go back and format it. And I'm like, but it is formatted. Just pull it off of Google Drive. I mean, it was so frustrating, the formatting piece of the book, that at one point I said, I wrote the book, I've done it. I'm washing my hands. I can say I'm an author. I don't care if it ever goes out. That's how frustrating it was.
Once you write the book, that's the easy part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But no one ever told me that. And I did not imagine. I'm thinking that this is the hard part because everyone's always asking, well, how difficult was it? How long did it take you? And, it was like, it wasn't really that difficult. It was at the end that I was pulling my hair out and I was just ready to say, forget it.
Exactly.
And so I needed you 2 months ago, but I'm working on book number 2, so I'll definitely be getting that for book number 2.
And then once you have that book formatted and you have it printed and you've got the actual book or you've got your ebook or whatever, the next thing is the marketing.
Yes.
And people don't realize how hard it is to market a book.
Absolutely.
They have no idea. I always look for non-conventional ways of marketing. Because, like when I took my book to a seminar company and said, can you can you sell this?
Right.
Now, they've got 40 people selling that book. It's not just me. They've got 40
Right.
people out there every day selling that book. And so the great thing about that is when they buy the book, they're buying it from me wholesale, but they're buying 700 to 800 books at a time. And that makes a lot more sense than standing in a bookstore all day trying to talk the 4 people that walk through the bookstore into buying your book, you know.
Right.
And then I even went so far as I bought myself this RV, and I wrapped the RV, and I decided, okay, I'm going to go across the country in my RV and go from bookstore to bookstore. I sold more books in the RV camps than I did in the bookstores. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that non-conventional is really, it works.
Yeah, I just once I got to the RV camp, I'd go into the people and I'd say, "Listen, do you want to have a little campfire tonight?" And I'll do a little talk about my book. And guess what? People bought
Interesting.
because they want to read. Those
Wow.
people in their RVs, they read books.
That's
a great
amazing.
idea.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Too bad they don't allow you into RV camps anymore.
I know. I was, yeah.
After that last
I've been
incident.
86.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just,
So, something that you mentioned earlier, Judy, another understatement in my opinion, is that you mentioned that you've won numerous awards. Well, there are people out there that have won awards. There are very few people that have awards named after them. You're one of those people, and not only just any award. So I'm a member of the NSA, the National Speakers Association, the Las Vegas chapter, and the most prestigious award that you can win at this chapter, it's given to one person. It's an honor to receive it. This award is actually called the Judi Moreo Award. So
Really?
yes, which is pretty incredible. So
It's
if you win.
the Judi Moreo Achievement
Oh,
Award.
my apologies.
That's
the
right,
Judi
get it
Moreo
right.
Achievement Award. I blew it, but that's okay. But
Yeah.
that's quite an honor. But
That is an honor, and it's because they say that the person who gets that award, I got it the first year, which of course that made sense, didn't
Right.
it? But they say the person that gets that award embodies the spirit of Judi Moreo, which I really like that, that person works hard and makes an effort and does what they can to help other people and does what they can to make the chapter the best.
and that's an incredible testament. And
That's pretty
and it's
impressive.
coming from professionals in the industry. These are people who know. So, having an award named after you, quite an honor, and I think it's well deserved. So
Thank you.
that is
Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah, I don't go around telling people that, but I'm thrilled that you did.
see, that's when you know when you've arrived.
Right.
If you have to toot your own horn, then you really haven't arrived. But when someone else is tooting it for you, that's when you've arrived.
And that
Wait a-
feels good.
That's it.
Wait a second. When I keep telling people about the Stormy Andrews Award they can win, that's been the problem. I keep
That's
telling
been the problem.
everyone, but no one wants
cares.
it.
That's right. If you
Okay.
paid me enough, I might go ahead and promote, but you haven't paid me enough. So now you said something that I thought was really important in your story, and I know you're like, well, we don't really have to tell the story, but it's so important because you have people that are in transitional phases in their life. And they're wanting to go over to something else, but they don't realize that where they are is a stepping stone to where they want to go, no matter where it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really phenomenal because no one would think, like for me, I'm here and I do, online marketing, internet marketing. I'm a social media strategist, but no one would think a retired flight attendant would that would have been the journey. But somehow it ended up being the journey. So, I just wanted to just, if you'll kind of elaborate maybe a little bit on the fact that where someone is today has no bearing of where they can go. Because your story is phenomenal. And Stormy, he rarely gives good ideas, but he was the one that said, we have to have Judi on here.
I think he gives great ideas.
Well, okay.
Oh, yes.
I
need to write that down.
Yeah, he'll pay you later,
I've
Judi.
got to make a payout to Judy.
There you go.
So.
Honey, make it payable. But so if you'll kind of elaborate just a little more on, we're talking about achievements and things.
Well, I think what happens is that most people, people get stuck. Not most people, but a lot of people
Yes.
get stuck. And they do what they do. Somehow we end up in careers often that we didn't pick.
Right.
That either our parents picked or we just needed a job when we got out of school, so we took whatever job we could and we end up staying in that job and becoming an expert and so whatever. But I hear people all the time say, wow, I wish I'd have done this or I wish I'd have tried that.
Right.
And
Right.
I just highly recommend people take the risk. Take the risk. It's amazing how many people tell me that they stay in a job they hate because they have insurance.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
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 You hear it all the time. The
benefits.
And they stay in that job because they have insurance. But the thing is, they hate the job so much they make themselves sick. So they need the insurance. If they would go and do something they really loved and have a really great time and buy their own insurance,
Right.
they would probably do much better. But people are afraid to take that risk. And very often when we have a family, it's hard because we have a husband or a wife, we have children, and, when you have children, you have to pay for school and clothes and food
Absolutely.
and all those things.
For some reason, they want to eat.
Yeah, I don't know
Some reason.
why. These blasted little kids, all they want to do is eat food. But that's, responsibility. But we can have responsibility and do our dream as well. Remember Nicholas Sparks?
Oh, yes. The author.
Yes, the author. He wrote all those best-selling
Sure.
books that became movies,
Right.
really well-known movies. Well, Nicholas Sparks was a FedEx driver, and that's what he did.
Really?
Yeah, he drove a FedEx truck. And so at night, he would write on his book. And then his first book netted him well over $1 million, because he had this dream and he had this idea and he just took the time and did it. And yet so many of us, we work all day at what we do and then we go home, we're tired, so we watch TV.
Right.
Hours after
hours.
And we
hours.
watch Law and Order reruns. I mean, I can tell you everything that's happened on Law and Order in the last 20 years. And Gunsmoke, I'm on Gunsmoke this week.
So we're all guilty of that as well.
Yeah, we are. But you know what? When I say to myself, okay, life's not going quite like what you want it to, Judy, I have to take a look at my life and say, what am I doing?
Right.
Because if things aren't going the way I think they should, then I better start either putting one foot in front of the other and just keep on going, or I better sit down and really look at it and say, there's some changes to be made here.
Right.
And that's what I'm getting ready to do for next year. I'm changing all my branding for next year.
Oh, tell us
Really?
about that.
Yep, I'm gonna go as the creativity coach.
Okay.
And everything I do is going to be based on creativity because that's what I do. I have 2 television shows about creativity. I have one about the world of art and one about the world of book reviews. That's creativity, right? Mm-hmm. I teach art on Saturdays. That's art.
Right.
I sell my art at shows. I write books. It's all about creativity. And so why shouldn't I just totally go and sell myself?
So we're going into Judi Moreo 3.0.
Yes.
Yes, 3.0.
Now you mentioned the shows, and you know what, we're a free for all on this show. So what are your shows, and how can they find you?
Well, I do the World of Book Reviews on Armount TV, Armount TV, and they have a station here in Vegas.
Okay.
It's an Armenian station.
Okay.
And they also broadcast in Los Angeles to about 130,000 people over there. And then they are on Google Box as well, and on the internet. And I talk about books, and I read people's books. I don't let them come on the show until I've read their book, and I know if it's a good book. And if it's a good book, they can come on the show, and I talk about it. If it's a book that needs work or something,
Right.
I tell them. One little girl, I met this one girl, a national speaker, lovely person, and she gave me a copy of her book.
Okay.
And it was a good book, except that nobody edited it.
Oh.
So it had some really bad grammar and stuff. So, like, being the bossy person I am, I set her down and I said, listen, I really like you and I really think you're right on with your book, but I can't in good conscience go on TV and tell people they should buy your book because
Right.
it needs to be edited. And she goes, really? Nobody told me that.
Wow.
And I said, well, you need to do that. Once you get the book edited, then I'll put you on the show. And she goes, you will? I'm like, yeah, I will, but you have to get it edited. I don't know an editor. I said, here, let me write down 3 names. But that's, I just want to be honest with people because her book is good, but it's not going to sell the way it is.
Right.
And so that's the thing people have to look at. They have to say, what's holding me back? And how can I do that differently?
Right.
And see, and I think that's an advantage of having a coach like myself because I've made all those mistakes.
That certainly helps you. You've made them versus reading about them and telling them some philosophy that, oh, I saw in this textbook.
Yeah. And I have one coaching client right now. I just love her. You know her. Wanda.
Okay.
I love her. And she's been writing her book, and her book is really good. I mean, she's been with me only about 2 months, and her book's almost finished.
Wow.
And it's a really good book. And so I send her little notes that say, are you watching TV? You know, have you worked on your book today? When will I get a copy of this? Where's that new story? You know, and she goes, I really like it that you keep on me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think that's what coaches do. We keep on the person until they accomplish their dream. My process with coaching is people come to me and they say, I really want to write a book, or I really want to be a speaker, I want to do whatever. So I say, okay, here's what you do. You write your goals down. You write all your goals down. And the next meeting, you bring that to me. And then what we're going to do is look at it and evaluate, pick out what are the most important to you, and then I'll tell you how much of it I think you can accomplish in a year.
Okay.
And then I guarantee you I will stay on your butt for that year until you get it accomplished. And I don't want to work with people for a month or 2 months.
Sure.
I want to work with them on their dream. I want to take their dream and work with them until they make their dream happen. And we can usually do it in a year if they're willing to work.
Well, my dream is to get a new podcast co-host. So
Not gonna happen.
Here I am.
Here we go.
I mean, I'm
Absolutely.
already here. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Deborah. You're out.
Yeah, I'm already here.
When
So
there you go.
when you see the amount of work that I do versus what he does, you'll be like, Deborah, I'm out. Come back.
we've already accomplished your goal. Now, do you want to get rid of him? Because if you're willing to do the work, I'm willing to show up.
Oh, you know what? And I need a women's show.
Yeah.
So we can
Wait
do
a
this,
second.
Judy.
Yeah.
I had a new co-host. I lost my co-host in a matter of 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And
How
that's
about
how
that?
we roll.
Sometimes you just got to move quickly.
That's right. That's right. You know, I made the snap decision, and we've got the theme and everything. We're ready to go.
Interesting. Okay, I've got to work on my strategy a little
That's
bit.
it.
After the show, we'll talk.
So if a person wants to, they're telling you, and they haven't gotten to the point to where, okay, I can get Judi as my coach right now, but I'm moving towards that. Is there any one or two things that you can say, or is it what you just said, that they should do right now, not now, but right now, in order to start this process rolling?
Yeah, right now they write down their goals.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
the first thing they do. They write down what they really, really, really want. If the world were perfect and money were no object, what would you do? What would you have?
So I should
Right.
be reasonable
would you
though,
be?
right? I should be reasonable.
Why?
I shouldn't.
You know,
See,
what-
and that's what they're thinking is,
See-
well, I don't know how I can achieve
yeah, but
this.
see, what's reasonable for one person may not be reasonable for another.
Right.
It's a matter of, well, I have a friend here in town. You'd love him. You would love him. His name's John Stewart Jr., and he wrote a book called Perfect Circles. Have you read it?
I have not.
It's called Perfect Circles. Well, John Stewart has cerebral palsy, and people have told him all his life what he can't do.
Of course.
But he wrote that book, and it's all about perfect circles. But his circles are all crooked because of the fact that he shakes.
Right.
You know, but the book is just awesome. And so, what people might think is reasonable for John may not be what's in his mind at all.
Sure.
I mean, he
Great
went all the way
point.
through UNLV. I think he's gone to law school now.
Wow.
But I mean, he's an amazing kid, amazing.
That's incredible. Perfect
is.
Circles by John Stewart. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's a great book. And another one, Jerry Traylor. Jerry Traylor had multiple sclerosis, and he told everybody he was going to climb Pikes Peak, and they said, no, you're not going to climb Pikes Peak. And he said he was going to run a marathon, and they said, oh, you're not going to run a marathon. Well, Jerry Traylor climbed Pikes Peak twice.
Wow.
And he ran a marathon from San Francisco to New York City, and he raised over $1 million for I think it was for multiple sclerosis in the process.
Did you say San Francisco to New York City?
I did.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, here's this person that everybody's saying, oh, that's not reasonable. That's not feasible. He can't do that. But he did it. You can look Jerry up on the internet, Jerry Traylor.
Jerry Trailer.
And he's awesome, this man, all the things he's done. So I just get fascinated because I know if we put it in our mind and if we really, really believe, I can do that. That's something I really want. I can do it. And if we're willing to work for it, and if we know we have to give up, and we're willing to give up.
Right.
See, a lot of times people aren't willing to give up.
Sure.
We're not willing to give up that cushy lifestyle. We're not willing to give up sitting on the couch and watching TV at night. We're not willing to give up, you know, the things we spend money on, that new car or that whatever that we want.
Right.
Purses, shoes, clothes.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to give those things up in order to
Absolutely.
get to where you want to go. Because it doesn't come overnight. It's not easy. And I that's one of the things that scares me today about so many younger people is that, they'll come and meet with me and then they're like, how long do you think this will take? And I said, well, I'm pretty sure we can make this be, happen in a year. A year? A year? You mean I can't be a speaker next week? Well, maybe you could learn something in the meantime.
Exactly, right. To
Yeah.
get you along that journey.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So in terms of credibility, this is something which I think is pretty powerful. You have a designation from the National Speakers Association.
I do.
And that designation, let's say if next year I go out and see 100 speakers, statistically speaking, of those 100 speakers, how many would have this designation?
Less than 10.
Less than 10. What is that designation?
The Certified Speaking Professional.
And
It's an earned designation. You have to earn it.
I can't buy it?
No.
I can't get it in a week?
No. The very minimum you can get it in is 5 years. The very minimum. Most people it takes 6 or 7 in order to do it. And you have to do a certain number of speeches to a certain number of people at a certain dollar value every year
Yes.
in those 6 years
Right.
in order to be considered for it. And I didn't get it until I'd been speaking 15 or 20 years.
Wow.
I earned it earlier, but I couldn't seem to get the paperwork filled out right
Right.
because the paperwork is a nightmare. And so what I tell people now when I train speakers is if you want to be a certified speaking professional one day, you start doing the paperwork from the first speech. You start keeping track of it from the first speech. You get the form and you start filling it out because you can fill it out as you go,
Right.
but not us old guys. We didn't know to do that, so we just went through life doing our thing. And then one day somebody said, oh, you can get this designation if you qualify, and then you have to go back 10 years and contact everybody you ever spoke for and get a letter. And I mean, it's a
wow.
process.
Absolutely. So, I mean, right there, that's extremely valuable. Because it seems if I were, I guess I am a speaker, but in terms of a speaker, hiring someone like you to be a mentor or a coach, or if I'm writing a book, hiring someone like you to be my mentor or my coach to get me through the process, seems like it makes a heck of a lot of sense. And it seems like it will save them a heck of a lot of time. And if you take that time that they're saving, it's probably going to equate to them saving a heck of a lot of money.
Yes.
Is that a fair statement?
I can give them a lot of shortcuts.
Yeah.
A lot of shortcuts. Get them there faster. And I mean, I just met with one girl last week, and she said to me, I don't know how to get speeches. I said, what do you mean you don't know how to get speeches? She said, I don't know how. I said, you pick up the phone and you call somebody and you tell them what you do. Well, who do I call? I said, well, you call a meeting planner. Well, how do I find a meeting planner? Well, maybe you should go on the internet.
That thing called the Google.
Yeah, Google University.
Yeah.
And YouTube University.
There you go.
There's a lot of places in tech. It's so much easier today than it was when I started.
Right.
Same with writing a book. I mean, look at it. You can write a book, do it, have it printed, and only print one at a time and send them out.
Right.
When I wrote my first book, I had to buy 2,000 copies,
Oh my God.
which was $25,000 up front.
Wow.
And then I had to store them in a storage, which cost me a couple $100 a month.
Sure.
And then I had to work like crazy to sell them because they had to go somewhere.
Right.
And that was with a major publisher. I mean,
Wow.
I wasn't doing it on my own like people do today.
Right.
But the publisher required we buy 2,000 copies.
Interesting.
Nice.
So I mean, it's a lot easier today.
That's quite a commitment. Whereas today, like you said, you're able to just buy them as you need them, or or even get it to where they'll ship it out for you. You never even have to touch them.
Exactly. I mean, somebody calls up and they say, "Oh, I want a book." Oh, good. Okay, you type it into the print-on-demand company,
Yep.
and you order one book, and you have them ship it to the person, and
That's
you
it.
make your profit on it. I
Wow.
mean, that is so much easier.
Right.
I used to have to go get the book out of the warehouse, go buy the padded
packaging,
envelope, go do it, take it to the post office. And sometimes if I had 30 or 40 books to mail, you should have seen me. I'm going to a big stack of these envelopes, right? It was a nightmare.
Deborah, you never have to worry about that.
You know what? Just because you said that, I'll hire Judi to make sure it happens, okay? There you go. Now, you don't challenge me. We'll be like that guy that from the first office. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll make sure it happens.
Yeah.
Judi will be bribing people under the table. Put her on your stage.
Here.
Come on, buy a book.
Judi, I'll bet you $10,000 she doesn't sell 50 bucks.
I don't think you better do it.
I don't
I'm not
think
gonna
so
do that one.
either. Exactly.
Not if I'm opening it. Because this little book, your fast track guide to
I see
writing
that?
and
Tell us
launching your
about that.
book. Yeah, I wrote the course for online. I wrote the course online, and it sells. I mean, I put it up there at a really reasonable amount of money, and I do specials on it. Like for you guys, any of your people buy it, it's $27. But the thing is, I decided I was going to speak. See, I like to speak where I want to go.
Right.
I'm at the point in my career now to where I don't want to go speak in some little town in who knows where.
Right.
Okay? I don't want to name towns because they're all nice towns, but they're not where I want to go. I want to go to Ecuador and Dubai and, the places I've never been.
Right.
So I wanted to go to Ecuador, and I heard they had a writers' conference in Ecuador. And I called this lady I know who's down there, and she said, oh, they'll never hire you to do a speech at this conference because, you do how-to books, and they really only want authors, people who write novels.
Okay.
And, real authors. And I said, those of us
Real
who write
authors.
how-to books are real authors too, believe it or not.
Just so you know.
And she said, oh, they'll never hire you. So I thought, okay. So I went online and I looked up the conference and I found who the people were, and I wrote them a note and told them who I was and what I do. They said, definitely, yes, we want you. We want you this year. Can you be here? And I thought, okay. So they hired me, and I'm going to Ecuador, and I did. But I was thinking about it, and I thought, I don't have a book on writing. And I've got all these writers. I should have a book.
Right.
So I did it. I took the stuff from the course. I put it in the book. I sent it, like you said. I went online. I sent it out. I bought a whole big box of them. I stuck them in the suitcase and went to Ecuador. Put them in the back of the room. Every book sold.
Wow, that's
single
So
book.
that's a clue.
Okay, I'll let you finish.
Go ahead, Stormy, because I think we're going in the same place.
You gotta
Probably
write-
not.
But I'm probably
not.
smarter than you. So
Yeah.
here's the clue that I'm saying, and I don't know if I wanted to stop you because I want to make sure that they're grabbing this. That these weren't things that I figured it out and then I went out in search of it. You found it and then you created it based upon what was there.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Success leaves clues.
If you've got an audience that wants to learn a particular thing, then you write a book on that thing and you sell it to them. See, so many of us who go into speaking and writing, we want to speak and write because we have this message. Somehow.
Something inside.
Yes, it's in us, and we just have to share it with the world.
Right.
And one of the first things I always say to my coaching clients are, who's going to buy this?
Right.
Who's going to buy this? When I wrote my book, You Are More Than Enough, I wrote that book based on the fact that I had had a model agency for 17 years, a finishing school model agency, and I had been dealing with people who didn't believe they were enough for all those years. People who wanted more confidence, people who wanted to believe in themselves. So I knew there was a market for that. So I took all the content from back when I did the finishing school model agency, updated it, put in some stories, put the book together, took it to a publisher. Actually, it was interesting because they didn't even do self-help books. They did coffee table books. I took it to a publisher loved it, bought it, and that was the beginning of their self-help division, was my book. And that book has sold like 100,000 copies around the world.
Wow.
You are just a pioneering
It's
diva.
incredible.
So next time they say that you're bossy, just tell them no. You're just an unstoppable boss lady. Boom.
I am bossy.
I think your next book, Judi, this is the marketing side that just came out in me. And I want to go back to this Ecuador. So you decided you wanted to go to Ecuador, correct?
Right.
So you found an event that you could attend that they would pay you to speak on stage.
Right.
Then at this event, they allowed you to bring product that you were able to sell. So, and I'm sure you stayed a few days beyond the event. So it was a working vacation.
I did, yeah. Because
So-
I wanted to see Ecuador.
You wanted to see Ecuador. So you found a way to get people to pay you to travel any place in the world that you want to go.
Right.
And while you're there, you figured out a way for them to give you more money.
Yes.
For spending money. So by working with Judi, there's a way to travel the world
And make money.
and make money wherever you want to go on someone else's dime. And then when you're there, they'll give you extra spending money. I would sign up for that class in a heartbeat.
Well, good.
Because that's pretty incredible.
Well, the Dubai trip was the biggie. I have to tell you.
Wait,
the Dubai
Ecuador
trip.
and Dubai?
Yeah, I wanted to go to Dubai.
Okay,
Right?
let's hear this.
Well, listen, the Dubai Chamber of Commerce hired me. They're the largest chamber of commerce in the world. They have 8,000 members, so they can
Wow.
afford you, right? They had heard me speak in South Africa. The man who was the head of the chamber, he heard me speak at another conference on chambers in South Africa.
Okay.
And so he contacted me and he said, we'd love to bring you to Dubai to speak. And what is your fee? And I quoted this outrageous fee. And he said, okay. And I said, but, why don't you wait till next season when I'm already in South Africa and bring me at the same time, and it'll save you the travel money.
Okay.
Because I'm not interested in saving money. We want to get you here now. I'm like, okay. So now they flew me first class on Emirates Airlines. Now,
Really?
I don't know if you've ever been on Emirates Airlines, but even
Familiar with them.
even
Not been on there.
the back of the back is pretty classy. But first class means you have a private cubicle, and in that private cubicle you have a mirror and you have cosmetics and you have a Dom Perignon champagne and a little refrigerator, and they put a little mattress on your seat when it folds back, and they give you pajamas to sleep in, and they have
pajamas.
yeah, and they have a chef on board, and he'll cook whatever you want at any time. So they paid for this. So I said, I have now done the ultimate of the speaking career. This is the ultimate. I don't care if I ever go anywhere else now that I've done. I just want to live on Emirates Airlines. I want to live in first class on Emirates Airlines. It was amazing, amazing. I spoke for 45 minutes. They put me in a 5-star hotel for 7 days. They took me sightseeing. They took me out in the dune buggies and the dunes. They took me everywhere. And the one man from the chamber took me to his store and said I could pick out whatever I wanted for myself for gifts.
Wow.
Can you believe that? Oh, and the best part was I was there on Thanksgiving, and because I had to miss Thanksgiving, they flew a turkey from America over there and cooked it.
Wow.
And invited all the Americans they could find to come and have Thanksgiving with me.
Incredible.
That is incredible.
Wow.
That
I
is.
mean, is that the ultimate? That was
That
like
is the ultimate.
my best trip ever. Now, I love South Africa, and I've been there 22 times. And I love Tanzania, and I love Kenya. But I got to tell you, the Dubai people, they outdid everything.
That's incredible.
They
Wow.
did it. They did it right.
I think I need to have a talk with Judi once
Yeah,
we're finished. 'cause,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Judi, let me ask you a question for the people that are listening to this podcast that are thinking to themselves right now, I want more of Judi Moreo. What do they do? How do they get in contact with you?
Well,
what's the game plan?
They can email me. Now, my name is spelled different than Judi is normally spelled. They can email me, Judi, Judi,
Okay.
at judimoreo.com. That's JUDIMOREO, like Oreo cookies with an N.
Okay.
So Judi at judimoreo.com. They can email me there, or they can call me, 702-283-4567. That's easy. It's 283-4567. It's not hard to remember.
Area code
Right.
702.
Area code 702.
283-4567. Right? And I'm happy to talk to people, or they can just email me and I'll email them back. They can go to my website, judimoreo.com, or youaremorethanenough.com, or judimoreoartist.com. There's a whole bunch of them.
Wow.
And they can send me messages there.
I'm going to make a connection. We actually had a financial planner on here some time ago. She wrote a book, and it's finance is the other F word.
Ooh, I like it.
And she sent me her preliminary copy, and I think the book is absolutely brilliant. I mean, brilliant. But she's at a stage she doesn't know what to do, and she's asking me, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. That's not, that's not my that's not my lane. But I'm going to make that connection between the two of you to
I'd love
see
that.
if there is something there. But I can tell you, I read her book, and I'm cracking up laughing, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, I wish I had these writing chops, because the book is brilliant.
Great.
But I'm going to make that connection, and I think anyone else who's thinking about writing a book, you've written a book, or you want to become a professional speaker, I think it would be absolutely crazy for them not to reach out to you. And it's so generous of you to share the contact information that you did. You just didn't send them to a website. You
Thank
said,
you.
get a hold of me, I'll speak to you, and that's incredible.
Well, I think that's the way to do it. If you really want to help people, you have to meet the person and find out what they want. And if you can't help them, then you see if you can find someone who can.
Right.
Now, do you work with individuals outside of the Las Vegas area?
I do. I work with people online.
Okay.
Okay.
And so that's really awesome, because the internet has changed our world so
has.
much, and I can do Zoom calls with people.
Right.
I can have them on my television show by remote.
Sure.
There's all kinds of ways I can work with them.
Awesome. Fantastic.
This was a great show.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed it. And, for those of you that are listening to this on a podcast, we encourage you, if you like what you heard today, please support our show by subscribing, rating and reviewing the show. And I have no problem with you, when you're rating and reviewing the show, tell us how great Judi was, how great I was. We know Deborah wasn't, so that's okay. We don't take offense to that.
She
but
is too.
Thank you. I am too. I am enough. I am enough.
You're more than enough.
I'm more than enough.
but definitely rate and review where you get your podcast from. This was a great show. I enjoyed our time with Judi. Can't say the same about Deborah, but I'm sure you have some parting words.
Yes, I do. Thank you so much, Judi. It's been a pleasure getting to know more about
Thank
you.
you. It's been my pleasure.
Yes, it absolutely has, and we're going to be staying on top of what's happening in Judi Moreo 3.0.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure we will have to have you back as you're starting this new journey and sharing it with our guests.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, I've been thinking about that. I think it's a 4.0. Let's see, we
Okay,
had the
there
modeling
you go.
agency, accomplished business owner, accomplished speaker, an accomplished artist. And if you haven't seen her paintings, they're incredible. There's an elephant that I saw you
elephant.
post on Facebook, and it's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Now
that'd
the
be
creative
5.0.
coach. I mean, who knows what the number is?
Yes.
But it's definitely more than 3.0.
Thank you. Thank you.
So awesome. So once again, Judi shared the information. We thank you for joining us today and look forward to our next episode. We'll see you guys soon.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.